Are they gone? Cool. Welcome back, everyone, to D20 Sundays. I'm your host, as always, Ian, the part-time Dungeon Master. Like my invisibility cloak? Just gotta get rid of this. So, I guess I wanted to talk about, a few spells. First and foremost, my name, once again, is Ian, the part-time Dungeon Master. If you like any of the content I provide to you, like, subscribe, share, comment, anything that would help with the YouTube algorithm and help me reach out to other people and, share some of our love for Dungeons and Dragons and other tabletop games. So, these are essentially the spells that I feel like are best used by players and less so by the Dungeon Master. And here's the reason as to why. Sometimes when the players use it, it's cool, it's a great way of they feel like they, figured a way around the Dungeon Master's plan. But when the Dungeon Master uses it, it's less so, and it feels like they got robbed of something. And we never want to rob our players of an experience. I'd like to point out that I've used these spells in many games, as well as, at some points, I feel like I did rob the players of something because I expected them to succeed on a save or something, but they didn't. And because I'm the dice fall as the dice fall kind of person, I rolled with them failing, even though I honestly could have fudged it to where they succeeded. So, going forward, take this with a bit of salt, and let's review the spells that I feel like are best used by players, but not so much by Dungeon Masters. First one is Invisibility, as, shown with my little gimmick there. The idea of turning invisible, being undetectable by sight, but still detectable by sound and smell, and the fact that you get advantage on some of your attacks. Actually, I think the first attack that you take, because after that you are, visible to everyone, as well as the whole, it's a great way of escaping from, pursuers. Just, turn invisible and stop moving. Unless they have a way of, detecting heat through, heat vision or something, or you casting detect magic, they're not going to find you. So that being said, Invisibility is a very useful spell for the players for sneaking into places. But say, as the Dungeon Master, I use it for a villain to escape from the group, or for them to sneak up on the group. It feels like the players got robbed a bit of their chance of either surprise or of, finally getting that villain who they've been hunting for weeks on end. So, like I said, it's one of those that you have to be careful as how often you use as a Dungeon Master, because if you use it too much, then your player's going to feel like that's, Ian's, oh, villain got away card, and, there's no way for them to refute or, try and go against it. It's like, cast invisibility, they're gone, bye. And I definitely don't want my players to feel like that, so I try to use it as limiting as possible and only keeping with certain characters that use it because it fits their character. A wizard without invisibility prepared is a wizard that is not fully prepared when it comes to either time to ambush or be ambushed. Sure, you could fill it with another damaging spell, but honestly, invisibility is such a powerful spell, why not have it? Just like flying, invisibility, and then as many fireballs as you want. The next spell is any of the mind control, and I do mean any, like friends, charm person, suggestion, dominate mind, you name it, any of them. I've used them sparingly, and I can count specifically for one campaign, I've only used it 3 times. And the reason being is, while I have used it and it's worked, the fact remains that it's never fun to have the party turn on each other because, they don't know why, because in character they would have no reason as to knowing why. Suddenly the barbarians raged towards them. And that's a fair statement. For the players to use any of those spells to, say, navigate through a difficult part of a dungeon or a social encounter that requires them to be as tactful as possible, that's definitely approvable. That's something that you should expect from the players to do, and the players definitely feel like they have, come up with a great idea and that they have succeeded in something by doing this, versus you using it on the players, they feel like they got robbed of something. as I said, I've messed up multiple times in the past, and I've admitted that before, that I am not a perfect dungeon master. There's been times that I expected the players to succeed on the save versus mind control, but they failed. And because I'm the dice fall as the dice fall kind of dungeon master, I went with them failing versus fudging it to where they, succeeded, when I honestly probably should have, because it would have made better for the story, as well as made the player feel even better about their character, because they got to control their character for like a major fight or something. And so that's why I'm warning my fellow dungeon masters against the prolonged or multiple use of the mind control type of spells. And like I said, I've only used it 3 times in this one group, and I don't really plan on using it more. I might use it one more time if the situation, comes up to where whoever's casting it would have that prepared. But other than that, I'm most likely not going to, because like I said, it does leave a bad taste, not only in the players' mouths, but my own. Speaking of bad taste, I'm having sinus drippage. Ugh. You see, I live in the South, and we're currently hitting all 4 seasons in like 2 weeks worth of time, because it was rainy, it was snowy in some parts of the South, and it was cold, and then it was suddenly warm, and then it was spring-like, and then it was spring kind of rain, and then it cold snapped right back to winter. And it's like, I have no idea what's going on, and my sinuses have no idea what's going on. So I apologize. So next on my spells of things that are better used by the players and less so by the dungeon master, well, it comes to the higher tier spells. Most players don't like being outmatched by a wizard, especially, this wizard's more powerful than your wizard. So having spells of a higher rank than them is feasible, and it's definitely sometimes possible due to whatever kind of campaign you're running. But you should never have it be a moment that's rubbed into the player's face. So the spell Counterspell comes up very often when it comes to facing on a stronger spellcaster, because there's no better, middle finger to that wizard over there who's trying to cast Fireball at you guys than Counterspell. No spell for you. And honestly, when the players use Counterspell, it's kind of like an applaud moment. Like, you did good. You did the right thing. You stopped him from casting whatever spell that was. And when you use it as the Dungeon Master, it can kind of be a bit of a slap in the face if you use it too much. Because then it makes that caster feel like you're targeting them, or you're targeting the group's casters specifically in order to weaken the group. Which, again, as a Dungeon Master, whenever I set my players against enemies, I tend to make the enemies as challenging and intelligent as fighting against another party. They tend to be able to work well together, and they work off of each other, because it provides the best challenge that way. However, that being said, sometimes you have to dial it back a little bit, because if you're going to swing at the party with another party, you want your players to succeed. You want them to succeed, not only to boost their morale, but also to help progress the story on. You're not going to help either if you beat the snot out of them with another party, because then they're going to feel like, why are we adventuring? These jackoffs can do it. If they can whip our asses, they can whip the big bad evil guy's asses. So, now you see my point when it comes to Counterspell. Use it sparingly, and make sure whenever you're using tactics against the party that you're dialing it down just a little bit to where it feels like they're facing another well-organized group, but at the same time, something that they can overcome. And, yeah. That's it, what I want to talk about for this D20 Sundays. I've got some other content coming up with my friends, Kelker and Luna. They are essentially going to be helping me with some Dungeon Masters Corner stuff, where we talk more about world building, and we revisit the topics that I went on when I did attempted to do the podcast over Twitch, and the videos that I have up now. We're going to revisit all of those, and then essentially put them out slowly one by one, going over each of the individual parts of world building and how you can build your own homebrewed D&D world. And I'll catch you next time. Laters.